movement demo for the side plank. The side plank is a really good foundational exercise, and the purpose of this video is to pass on some helpful tips to get more out of the exercise and help you progress quicker. So the things that we'll go through today in terms of improving form apply to all the progressions of the side plank and different variations. And what we're going to do, Tyler and I are going to take a look at some of the ones that we see on a regular basis in terms of form improvements in the movement. So what we're going to do is take a look at three things. We're going to take a look at hips, we're going to look at head position and tension. So we're going to start off in a standard side plank. So we're going to set up hip position first. Now one thing that can happen with a side plank is one of three things. First, we can have our hips too low. So when we have our hips too low, you notice we're kind of more of a U shape. We're in that U shape, we're not really in that full straight alignment. So what we want to do is in that side plank is have a straight line right from the head, right through the hips, knees, and ankles. So this is our ideal position. So when it comes to hips, we want to avoid that U shape with hips down too much. But we also want to avoid what we call an A-frame. So when hips up too high, this often happens when we're trying to exaggerate keeping our hips up, but we're actually kind of overcompensating for the movement. So we want to find a happy medium and be nice and straight. Okay? The next part about hip placement is we want to make sure that we don't stick our butt back. So if Tyler pushes his hips back, he's starting to bend at the hips. So again, the benefit of the exercise is diminished when we do this. So we want to make sure glutes fully contract. We push hips forward, so we have a nice straight line, and the hips are in the right spot so we can properly use our core. So with that, if you have a difficult time kind of feeling what a straight line should kind of feel like, is we recommend doing the side plank against a wall. So if Tyler had a wall behind him right now, his body would be straight, the wall behind him, his head would touch the wall, his upper back, his hips, and his heels would all touch the wall, and that makes basically some physical feedback that we're in that straight line. So there's the first position that we want to make sure we master. So that's hip placement, making sure we're not too low, too high, and that we're pushing our hips forward with glutes tight. The second thing we want to take a look at is head position. Oftentimes what happens is we're in a side plank, our head kind of dictates where our body moves. So if Tyler, for example, jumps into a plank again, and say, for example, he starts to bend his head down. So when he has that tendency, his ribs are going to have a tendency to pop up, his hips are going to have a tendency to lift up as well, and again, we're getting to more of that A-frame type pattern. Same thing, if Tyler tucks his chin and he looks down, that's going to push his hips back, and again, that's going to take us out of that nice straight line. So we're in a side plank. A big key is to keep our head nice and straight and neutral. So we're looking forward. If you're watching the clock, for example, it's good to have a clock in front of you. You know, if we're timing ourselves and the clock is down there, well, the tendency is to round and tuck the chin, which gets us out of that proper form. So if you're timing yourself, try to keep that clock right in front of you, and that head position will be really solid, which will help line up everything from the head all the way to the heels. The last thing we want to take a look at is tension. So regardless if you're holding for 10 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds, you want to hold as long as you can keep everything rigid. So when we step back into this side plank, the whole game plan is heels right to head. We want to keep our muscles engaged. So there's not really any knee bend here. We got calves, glutes, quads, core is all engaged. That way our body is rigid right from head to heel. And then the other thing too is to take a little bit of stress off the shoulder. We want to flex this bottom arm. So that bottom arm is flexed, the shoulder blades are kind of pinned together and engaged. And when we do that, everything is really rigid. We got a lot more muscle groups supporting us in that position, get more benefit, and our form will improve from there. So regardless of the progression that you're doing, those three keys are really important. We got hip position, we got head position, we got full body tension, and when we take care of those three things, the form goes up, benefit goes up, and you get more out of your side plank training.